President.
So, the Honourable Mr Mark Pearson.
Thank you, Madam Deputy President. The Animal Justice Party overwhelmingly supports the Greyhound Racing Prohibition Bill 2016. Unfortunately, I was asked last year to assist with developing a strategy after several months of evidence was gathered in relation to live baiting. And many trainers were arriving at a training track with various species of there'd be rabbits, possums, cats and piglets arriving at a training track, and a great deal of training was done routinely. Live baiting was done routinely in relation to the training of greyhounds. But there was one particular scene which I would say has probably haunted me ever since. And it's not a one-off, it's systemic. It's part of the industry. It's the norm. It's integral to the industry. A possum, in broad daylight, a nocturnal animal, was strapped onto a lure. A cloth was placed over its shoulders and strapped it down firmly, and its lower legs, and it was almost unable to move. The only thing that could move was the tail. You pay $50 to the trainer when you bring in your animal. You bring in an animal, you pay $50, and your dog is one of maybe several dogs that are actually live baited with that animal. So the lure was set off, and the engine's roaring and screaming, and the thing's vibrating, and this is an animal which is nocturnal, and this is daytime, and then off it goes around the track, and then it's stopped, and dogs are allowed to tear at it and rip at it, and it continues and continues. Then it comes back to where it started, and it's kicked around and hit to see whether it's still conscious or not. Yep, it's still alive. Great, we can set it around again with the other dogs. That possum, each time that possum went around, it came back. If it was still conscious, still screaming, and it's a squeal they want, a particular pitch, which kittens, piglets, and rabbits, believe it or not, they express a very high-pitched squeal when under enormous distress and pain and suffering. That possum went around 23 times and was still conscious. And because the trainer, the owner of the dog, was satisfied with the live baiting episode, he could take his dog, and he got his $50 back because they kicked the possum. Oh yes, it's still alive. And they could use it for the next dog. So you got your $50 back, and you left the possum there to die from a long, lingering, and what the police are describing as torture in death. Justice McHugh subpoenaed 10 trainers to give evidence. 9 of the trainers, who could have lied, but they didn't, all said they used live baiting to various degrees, and one refused to answer the question, or certainly didn't deny it. Therein lies the savagery of the greyhound industry. It's not a minority, it's not one-off. To have 10 trainers, 9 of whom admitted to live baiting, the nature of the live baiting means that the industry cannot save itself from itself. No regulator can save it from itself. And what the government has decided, and rightfully so, is that no government can save the industry from itself. Therein lies the overwhelming support that the Animal Justice Party and I personally give to the Baird government to taking this very historic and very principled and very ethical decision. The greyhound industry has a long history both here and afar, a history built on animal cruelty which traces the sport from the traditions of the elite and royalty to what it has been portrayed to as today, that being the battler's sport. Its long history is important as it coincides with the dynamic shift of social and community expectation in regards to our relationships with animals. What is clear is that the industry has formulated its own demise, no doubt carrying innocent casualties with it, both of the human and non-human kind alike. The industry and the core of its participants have ignored society's shift in regards to animals and their treatment, a shift that demands high expectations of those seeking to profit from animals. This shift transcends political persuasions and socio-economic backgrounds. To pigeonhole love for animals as elitist and snobbery is an insult to those working class everyday people, many of which will take in a rescued greyhound animal as the industry owners seek to dispose of them in the coming months as they no longer bring in revenue. It has been a widely known secret that the greyhound industry has systemic animal welfare issues. Systemic, not minority, not uncommon. That is what is critical. Stories of live baiting, mass graves, greyhound muscle men and overbreeding have been common for a very long time. Now, there's been a great deal of evidence about these muscle men. So a greyhound has an injury. Very, very, very rarely does it get taken to the vet or does the vet get called. There is a failure, there is a decision to do something which is immediately a breach of the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals Act, a specific section which says it is an offence to fail to provide veterinary treatment. So we have these muscle men, and we have been given clear descriptions by people who've been in the industry of what happened. One of the many practices is that if the dogs have gathered an industry, a serious industry, while they're racing and they can't perform, they'll try various applications. And one of them is to put the dog up on a branch, the front two legs, tie the front two legs to that, strap the dog to the tree, and also then stretch the bottom two legs, trying to rectify the injuries. No analgesia, no pain relief. The muscle men are doing the job. And this is systemic through the industry. In my previous job, we were privy to a lot of evidence that was brought before us, but actually not enough to bring about prosecutions at a level that should have been brought about. So it was only in the early 2015 last year, and the evidence that I was able and had the unfortunate experience of having to witness, but to assist in involving the Four Corners program in the program Making a Killing, and also the police. And the expose documented what has already been talked about a great deal today. But the great and important thing is that it was a catalyst for the establishment of the Commission of Inquiry, and a program that utilised covert video footage of the most appalling cruelty and suffering. And this footage was obtained by animal activists, passionate, everyday people, exposing acts which the government of the day, authorities and industry itself could not or would not investigate and rectify. This is a testament to the everyday people who seek to right the wrongs of this world, wrongs committed to voiceless animals beholden to their care, and who suffered at the hands of callous people who knowingly committed illegal activity day in and day out. Now, thanks to the government and the Commission of Inquiry led by Michael McHugh, the public and the lawmakers of this state, and indeed across the globe, have had the truth revealed to them. This truth, and it is truth, it's not fiction, it isn't made up, it isn't delusional, it's based on fact and is truth, and is a report by a very conservative, esteemed judge. The bare facts, as revealed by the McHugh report, has implicitly condoned, the industry has found that the industry has complicitly condoned as well as caused the unnecessary deaths of tens of thousands of healthy greyhounds. has engaged in the barbaric practice of live baiting, has caused and will continue to cause injuries to greyhounds that range from minor to catastrophic. Here's another aspect of the industry which cannot be undone. Catastrophic injuries of an enormous scale will occur as a direct consequence of the genetic structure and musculoskeletal structure of the animal and the race. They are fundamental to the industry. They can't be turned around. They are part of the industry. Those factors cannot be changed, but they are unacceptable. And the industry has deceived the community over and over again concerning the extent of the injuries and deaths caused during race meetings. And it has failed to demonstrate that in the future it will be able to rectify this and even reduce the deaths of healthy greyhounds to levels the community would tolerate. I'm sure many in the House will debate the finer points of the economics, jobs and the complexities that come with making such a tough but brave and just decision of shutting down an industry. But I, as a member of the Animal Justice Party, would like to just discuss a few other aspects of this industry. The greyhound racing industry likes to claim that greyhounds are an ancient breed of racing dog going back to biblical days with thousands of years of adaptation. Modern genetic testing shows differently, and that in fact greyhounds are descended from herding dogs such as the St Bernard and the Wolfhound, hardly known for their light frames or speed. The selection process is relatively recent, being only in a few hundred years. Breeding selection intensifies with the commercialisation of the industry, placing considerable pressures on the greyhound's musculoskeletal structure. Modern greyhounds have been bred for larger muscle mass, lower body fat and a higher overall muscle-to-bone ratio than other canine breeds. This intensive breeding selection has resulted in significant and common animal welfare issues for large numbers of animals. Greyhounds have been shown to suffer from osteochondrosis dissecans, a generic predisposition causing growth plate fracture in young dogs and hock joint fractures in adult dogs. And it is the hock joint fractures that are extremely common injuries experienced during racing. Injuries to the carpal and tarsal joints are also common in racing greyhounds, resulting in an increased risk of osteoarthritis and potential long-term lameness. Risk factors cited are heredity, rapid growth, automatic conformation, trauma and dietary imbalances. Of these, heredity and conformation have been scientifically supported. The fact is, and always will be, that in order for the industry to exist, greyhounds must be bred in excess to replace the dogs existing and to maintain race participation numbers. Greyhounds that do not participate in the greyhound racing industry have a life expectancy of between 12 and 15 years. For the industry's greyhounds, the life expectancy is often far, far shorter. Many are put down before the age of 4.5 years. Another blight on an industry that is systemic. Over the last 12 years, approximately 97,783 were whelped in New South Wales. The McHugh report found, after taking into account consideration of multiple factors, that up to 68,000 of these dogs had been slaughtered simply because they either were too slow or could no longer pay their way. We cannot tolerate an industry that kills that many dogs because they don't make the grade. So what was their fate? Appalling brutality and suffering. If they were lucky, it was a bullet to the skull and a mass grave. The unlucky ones got a baseball bat to the skulls and put into a crab trap and thrown into a river. It was also seen in evidence given to the 2014 Committee on the Industry that unwanted dogs were also drowned, gassed and hung. And the evidence is clear that this was done by Australian trainers and breeders. From the age of 12 months, the training process commences, first with a breaking in process and sometimes referred to as education. And breaking in involves an intense form of training during which the animal first learns to chase a lure, and the lure, in many cases, is a live animal termed bait, used in the widespread and rampant practice that is a criminal offence, has been a criminal offence since 1979. The animal used for bait is often a terrified rabbit, possum, piglet or kitten, and video evidence has also revealed, and this goes to the issue of human welfare that is often raised. Why aren't we concerned about the welfare of the people and the welfare of the humans? Well, number one, for people, whoever they are, to be so deeply involved in an industry that has at its fundamental core systemic brutalities and cruelty to animals, that is not welfare for the people involved. That harms those people. And as we saw in the evidence video that was taken, shown on Four Corners, and I saw much more of it from all of the vision, is that there are children as young as 10 who were shown to be unwilling witnesses to this appalling treatment of live baiting of animals. And you will remember the scene where a child was held by the hand and made stand in front of a possum, upon which 3 greyhounds were set and the possum was torn to pieces. How can this be welfare for people? Yet that is obviously common practice. We have to end that. So this bill is not only about the animal issue, the dogs, the possums, the rabbits, the piglets, the cats, etc. It is actually about bringing forward people into a better way of compassionate living, not permitting children to be exposed to brutalities upon animals. So despite the best efforts of the volunteer-run greyhound rescue and rehoming groups across the state, Greyhound Racing New South Wales has reformed only 593 greyhounds through the Greyhound as Pets program since 2007 at a cost of $200,000 per year. So this is simply unacceptable for this to occur. So put simply by Justice McHugh, the greyhound is simply a gambling instrument, no different from a card in a poker machine or a handle on a poker machine. This bill is an historic document, one that will end a cruel industry in an ordered manner, to which I am well supportive of. I commend Mike Baird's leadership in reviewing the report and the evidence and making the difficult yet right decision in bringing this bill to this House. I strongly commend the bill to this House. Thank you.